First of all, it came from deciding to make a piece about turning 50, and there was a process going on inside that had to do with, dealing with that number, which kind of brought out a lot of things to do with aging and my own mortality, and I guess just part of the natural process. And it was Christmas of 2009. I was in Utah, and it was incredibly snowy, thick snow, and I hadn't been in snow for many, many years. And being in that environment sort of triggered something for me. And I started to get this vision of something for a film with my face coming through the trees and the sort of landscape there. It had something to do with time and these very, very tall trees and the kind of sense of timelessness on the one hand, but also a sense of history. These trees and this landscape have been there for thousands of years. The lettuce then became this symbol of youth. It's this young, fresh, juicy, green, beautiful, flowering object that is so, it doesn't last very long. I started off making solo work in my early career in 1983, 84, 85, where I was beginning to sort of develop my own way of working with objects and movement and visual images and kind of bringing these different elements of my practice together. I just sort of started to feel this kind of pull to want to make a solo. What would it be like to return to that process 25 years on, To be. I used to be. I became interested in how I could find inspiration from other women who are older or more experienced, and that kind of led me to want to select 50 women for my 50 years. So when I decided on the 50 pairs of shoes to make 100 feet, and there's something about the number 100 and a century. 100 feet is a measurement as well. I'm always wanting to have a way of working that allows me to both be in a very specific choreographic container that I'm working in. I'm not just improvising freely, but at the same time, I'm in a space where I can make choices spontaneously, that there can be variation from one performance to another. It allows me to kind of be really alive.
About being a woman is that one can always pretend to be more stupid than one is, and no one is surprised.
I don't think in any way I was really trying to impersonate any of these women. It was more just trying to find how that voice spoke through me and how did that change me.
The minute you or anybody else knows what you are not it. You are what you or anybody else knows you are. And as everything in living is made up of finding out what you are, it is extraordinarily difficult really not to know what you are, and yet to be that thing.
In, to the central catacomb, the self that took the veil and left the world, a coward perhaps, yet somehow beautiful, as it flits with its lantern restlessly up and down the dark corridors.
My own brain is the most unaccountable of machinery, always buzzing, humming, roaring, soaring, diving, and then buried in mud.
And there's something really powerful about the world having the words of these women, and they can be spoken at any time. And we recorded all of the text with different kinds of voices. So that kind of concept of the disembodied voice kind of actually opened up a huge amount of freedom for me as a performer.
I am incapable of conceiving infinity, and yet I cannot accept finity.
I don't know what you're talking about. You really must be sick.
I cannot express it, but surely you and everybody have a notion that there is, or should be, an existence of yours beyond you.
Why are you doing this to me? Why?
Existence is no more than the precarious attainment of relevance in an intensely mobile flux of past, present, and future. Past, present, and future. Past, present, and future. Past, present, and future. Past, present, and future.
Past, present, and future.
I wanted to have another way of including the text, where the text just became a visual element that sometimes could be read clearly, intentionally making it readable, and other times just treating it as material. I found myself in states that I would never normally in my daily life be. One in particular was whenever I came to Joan of Arc, standing on top of the stool.
One life is all we have, and we live it as we believe in living it. But to sacrifice what we are and to live without belief, that is a fate more terrible than dying.
It's like a sort of mega statement. It's the sort of thing I wouldn't ever say, in those words in that way. But when I got to that moment in the piece and I'm standing on the stool and I got my hand on my heart and I'm in this sort of Joan of Arc kind of feeling, and I found every time I got to that, I had to look people in the eye. I had to look at people in the audience, like right at them. The line demanded of me that I did it that way. The white stool was the same stool, but not the actual same stool, but exactly the same kind of stool as this solo that I performed in Vienna. In the work with the objects, I was sort of self-referencing.
Now, the promoter from the festival in Vienna was a rather mysterious fellow who failed to send me a contract. My flight to Vienna was booked, but it wasn't until the evening before my departure that he phoned to confirm the essential contractual details concerning travel, accommodation, and of course, my performance fee. Half-beard bailed himself out of jail using the money that was intended for me for my performance fee. The trauma and humiliation of this experience somehow tainted the sense of glamour and stardom of being plastered all over the walls of Vienna.
Another moment for me, I always felt very exposed and vulnerable, was when I take the wig off.
I feel like my costume is upstaging me. I always thought that I was nobody. And in order for me to be somebody, well, I needed to be, well, somebody else.
I feel as though it's all
I feel as though it's
to
all
somebody
happening
right next to me.
right
Close. I can feel it.
I just felt, being so close up to the audience, it was just really, really exposing, I really felt naked in that moment.
I'm just standing in today. I'm not the original. I am a fake. This is merely a mask, a facade.
I'll walk where my own nature would be leading. It vexes me to choose another guide. The straight path follows an endless curve. Feet, what do I need you for when I have wings to fly?
It was really a journey, and the way that all of the material finally got organized created a kind of a narrative of transformation for me from my state in the beginning of the piece to my state in the end of piece. During the process of creating 100 Feet, Pina Bausch died. There are so many sort of resonances of that kind of dance theatre work that was so inspiring to me. Trying to kind of recreate this atmosphere from Café Moula and throwing the shoes in the shoes and making this sound that sounds like the chairs being thrown around in Café Moula, and then I'm deliberately referencing that piece. That really felt like a very personal dedication to somebody that has inspired me probably more than anyone else. Being an aging dancer in a kind of way is sort of liberating, because I'm never going to be young and athletic anymore. So I feel like, oh well, I can actually do anything I want. It kind of takes a lot of pressure off, and that actually creates space for something else. And I'm really interested in that something else.
Yeah.